This is the 2010 Ferrari 458 Italia. The legendary automaker Ferrari was founded in 1929 as a racing team run by Enzo Ferrari. Its very first road-going sports car, the soul-stirring 125S, was introduced in 1947. When the 458 Italia turns, so do its headlights. These bi-xenon units automatically follow the road ahead by monitoring steering angle and lateral Gs. Integrated into the nose are aeroelastic winglets designed to improve airflow by deforming in a precisely engineered manner. The air pressure itself controls their action. The Ferrari 458 Italia is equipped with 20-inch 5-spoke alloy wheels and carbon ceramic disc brakes. With a flat underbody aerodynamic design, the 458 Italia achieves considerable downforce, nearly 800 pounds worth at top speed. Amazingly, it accomplishes this without relying on a large rear wing. The 4.5-litre V8 engine produces 562 horsepower. This helps the car reach 0 to 60 in 3.4 seconds and achieve a top speed of 202 miles per hour. No company designs track-ready interiors more elegantly than Ferrari. The 458 Italia incorporates many important driver functions into the Manettino-equipped F1-inspired steering wheel. The rear-wheel drive Ferrari 458 Italia features a 7-speed paddle-shift transmission.
This is the very latest mid-engined V8 Ferrari, the 458 Italia. Pretty, isn't it? And that's not something you can say about many of their efforts from the last few years. The 430 had a front end like a leering idiot. The 348 looked like it had crashed into a Venetian blind showroom. But this looks just right. Its appearance isn't just for show either. Those black fins in the front grille flex under air pressure, so the faster you go, the more they bend out of the way to improve aerodynamics. And there are no engine intakes to spoil the sides because they've been moved underneath the car. So it looks fantastic, and its 4.5-litre, 562 horsepower V8 means it has the guts to punch you repeatedly in the back of the head. But that alone wouldn't be enough. Some of its ancestors have been as incompetent and terrifying as having brain surgery performed by a baboon. As it turns out, the 458 is better than that. Much better. In fact, it's a sharp-handling, smooth-riding, savagely fast masterpiece. Of course, it's not perfect. For some reason, they've put far too many buttons on the steering wheel. The dashboard screens are so complicated they can only be worked by Bill Gates, and personally, I'd still rather have the brutal Mercedes SLS. But I can't deny that the 458 is a great car and a proper Ferrari.
This is the 2009 Ferrari California. Ferrari's use of the prancing horse emblem dates back to a 1923 racing success. Once belonging to a famous World War I flying ace, the symbol was honorably offered to Enzo Ferrari by the pilot's mother. The 4.3-litre V8 engine produces 453 horsepower. This helps the car reach 0 to 60 in 3.9 seconds and achieve a top speed of 193 miles per hour. The Ferrari California is equipped with 19-inch forged aluminum alloy wheels and carbon ceramic disc brakes. The rear-wheel drive Ferrari California features a 7-speed paddle-shift transmission. Because it's the closest that Ferrari has ever come to building a mass-appeal day-to-day car, safety is key in the California. It features a hidden roll bar that deploys within just 190 milliseconds of a rollover.
You might think Ferraris should be mid-engined, and this one isn't. You might think Ferraris should have V12s, and this one doesn't. It's called the California, and you have to ask, what's the point of it? Certainly, it's not very pretty, and it has literally the worst built-in telephone of any car in the world. Unless, of course, you've always wanted to spend your life accidentally phoning everyone you know whose name starts with A. But on the plus side, it's got a folding metal roof, it's reasonably nice to drive, and it means Ferrari can take money from people who might previously have bought a Mercedes SL, which means they can afford to develop proper, wonderful supercars like the 458. So, you see, the California does have a point after all.
This is the 2006 Koenigsegg CCX. The origin of the Koenigsegg emblem can be traced back to the 16th century. Its red and yellow shield pattern comes from the ancient coat of arms of the medieval Koenigsegg family. The Koenigsegg CCX is equipped with 20-inch carbon fiber and magnesium rear wheels and carbon ceramic disc brakes. The carbon fiber doors are unlike those of any other car, sliding out and rotating up on unique dihedral synchrohelix hinges. Thanks to hydraulic dampers, the doors open and close with just the slightest push. The supercharged 4.7-litre V8 engine produces 806 horsepower. This helps the car reach 0 to 60 in 3.2 seconds and achieve a top speed of over 242 miles per hour. The electronically adjustable suspension features a long double wishbone layout for added traction on uneven roads. The design was rigorously tested on Koenigsegg's own factory test track. The similar CCR model once held the top speed record for production cars. Their flat underbody and sleek shape brings aerodynamic drag to a minimum and helps them achieve incredible speeds. Unlike many low production manufacturers, Koenigsegg spares no expense on creating its interiors entirely from scratch. Even the switches, dials and gauges are made exclusively for the CCX. The rear-wheel drive Koenigsegg CCX features a 6-speed manual transmission.
The Koenigsegg CCX holds a special place in Top Gear history. For a long time, it was the fastest car around our track. To this day, it has the longest name of any car on our lap board. And it's the only car the Stig has ever stuffed. Stig's accident wasn't small, but then it wouldn't be with a 900 horsepower, twin supercharged, 4.5-litre V8 pushing him towards the tyre wall. But in a straight line, that power also means speed. 245 miles an hour to be exact, and that's not far off what a Veyron can do. Except, of course, a Veyron has a huge wing on it as standard, and a Koenigsegg, as Stig found out, does not. Or at least it didn't until Stiggy's accident, after which it became an option for any owner who didn't fancy ruining the inside of their underpants. Even someone as fast and as brave as Stig would be wise to choose it.
This is the 1982 DeLorean DMC-12. Starting with its role as a time machine in the Back to the Future movies, the DMC-12 has enjoyed pop culture stardom. It's since made cameo appearances in The Simpsons and The Wedding Singer, among many others. The DeLorean DMC-12 is equipped with 15-inch die-cast aluminum alloy rear wheels and four-wheel disc brakes. These rear louvers may scream classic 80s style, but they're functional too. In addition to venting engine heat, they improve aerodynamics, which in turn increases both top speed and fuel economy. The 2.8-litre V6 engine produces 130 horsepower. This helps the car reach 0 to 60 miles per hour in 10.5 seconds and achieve a top speed of 120 miles per hour. DeLorean pulled out all the stops when it came to outfit the cabin of the DMC-12. Its state-of-the-art cassette deck is even capable of receiving AM and FM radio at the push of a button. This is the 2002 Ferrari Enzo. Ferrari turned to renowned design firm Pininfarina to style the Enzo. Pulling cues directly from Ferrari's F1 racers, Pininfarina delivered the most dramatic and functional supercar design the world has ever seen. Can a car be an endangered species? If so, the Ferrari Enzo fits that bill, with only 399 ever made. Of these, over a dozen have already been wrecked by their owners. The Enzo's body is designed to maximize downforce. A channel under the nose cone diverts air to the rear diffuser, a trick Ferrari learned from their prodigious racing experience. One obvious key to winning races is to avoid overheating. Inlets in the Enzo's nose cone feed cold air to the engine's radiators, while side intakes cool transmission and engine oil temperatures. Despite its inherently sleek design, the Enzo also has active control over its aerodynamics. Fins in the front extend at high speed, and the rear spoiler adjusts pitch for extra stability. The Ferrari Enzo is equipped with 19-inch single-bolt aluminum alloy wheels and carbon ceramic disc brakes. The 6-litre V12 engine produces 650 horsepower. This helps the car reach 0 to 60 in 3.3 seconds and achieve a top speed of 218 miles per hour. Fitting for one of the world's most focused supercars, the Enzo's cabin is made for hard days at the track, not cushy comfort. The F1-style steering wheel and carbon fiber racing seats are anything but luxurious.
In Italy, you don't take the name of the father in vain. So when Ferrari decided to call this car the Enzo, you knew they had something special in mind. Something that would take supercars onto another level of speed, of handling, of fury. Such fury that after 3 full-bore standing starts, you have to send the car back to Italy for a new clutch. The Ferrari Enzo marked the point at which supercars became like modern fighter jets, demanding complicated electronics to keep them under control. It's computers that keep its 6-litre, 660 brake horsepower V12 and flappy paddle gear shift on speaking terms, and its F1-style adjustable suspension on an even footing. The result is a car that's faster around Ferrari's test track than all but their most recent Formula One cars. The Enzo's V12 went on to even greater things in the insane FXX and the psychotic 599 GTO, both cars that need even more men with laptops to keep them under control. But for Ferrari, the Enzo was Genesis. They only made 399 of them, and then the factory built a 400th for a very particular customer, the Pope. That's how special you have to be to have one.
This is the 1993 McLaren F1. Extensive wind tunnel testing played a large role in the F1's staggering top speed of 243 miles per hour. This production car record would not be broken for another 12 years. When building a car for speed, every ounce matters. From the titanium onboard toolkit to the custom lightweight CD player, even the accessories play a part in keeping the weight down. The McLaren F1 is equipped with 17-inch center-locking magnesium 5-spoke wheels and cross-drilled steel brakes. In true supercar style, the F1's doors are designed to turn heads. They flip open and upward, earning them the term butterfly doors. At high speeds, downforce is vital to stop the car from becoming airborne. At the flick of a switch, the F1 provides this by activating a dynamic spoiler that also diverts cool air to the brakes. The gold-lined engine bay isn't just for show. With a high-performance BMW V12 behind the cockpit, the shielding helps protect the carbon fiber body panels by keeping temperatures down. The 6.1-litre V12 engine produces 627 horsepower. This helps the car reach 0 to 60 in 3.4 seconds and achieve a top speed of over 240 miles per hour. The F1's driver-oriented central seating arrangement is unprecedented for production cars, placing the driver right in the center of the car, ideal for control, feedback, and visibility on the racetrack. The rear-wheel drive McLaren F1 features a 6-speed manual transmission.
Before the Bugatti Veyron, there was this, the 241-mile-an-hour McLaren F1. Despite its similar top speed, the McLaren F1 is the very opposite of the Veyron. No turbochargers, no four-wheel drive, no traction control, no ABS, and no flappy paddle electronically controlled gearbox. In spirit, the McLaren is closer to a Caterham than a Bugatti. A Caterham with a gold-plated engine compartment. It was built without compromise, and nothing was to get in the way of the driving experience. That's why the driver sits in the middle, so they feel completely in control. McLaren was so determined to use this layout, they even had the law changed to make it possible. Then there's the 627 brake horsepower 6.1-litre V12 engine, built specially for this car by a crack team of BMW Motorsport engineers, and the bespoke gearbox and a body made of carbon fibre. We take that for granted in supercars now, but back in the early 90s, it was so extraordinary they might as well have made it from lumps of Jupiter. Personally, I've never cared that much for the F1. It was too twitchy. But without it, Bugatti wouldn't have had something to aim for, and we wouldn't have had the incredible Veyron. In that respect, we owe McLaren our thanks.
This is the 1995 Ferrari F50. The 4.7-litre V12 engine produces 513 horsepower. This helps the car reach 0 to 60 in 3.7 seconds and achieve a top speed of 202 miles per hour. At top speed, the F50 produces over 950 pounds of downforce thanks to its state-of-the-art flat-bottom undertray and F1-derived rear wing. That's more than the much newer Porsche Carrera GT. The electronically controlled suspension can, on the fly, adjust the dampening force from soft to stiff in about 140 milliseconds. That's 2 times faster than the average blink of an eye. The Ferrari F50 is equipped with 18-inch magnesium alloy wheels and cast-iron disc brakes. The rear-wheel drive Ferrari F50 features a 6-speed manual transmission. For its time, the F50's instrument cluster was considered very high-tech because of its 8-bit microcomputer. Compare that to the exponentially more advanced 64-bit processor in the Xbox 360.
Back in 1995, Ferrari had a problem. How could they follow the extreme and extremely wonderful F40? The answer was this, the F50, a road-going Ferrari with the V12 engine from a Formula One car bolted in the back. Except as it turned out, it didn't feel bolted in the back. It felt bolted to your back. As a result, the abiding memory for anyone who drove an F50 wasn't the ferocious acceleration or the 200-mile-an-hour top speed. It was the sense that you'd had a furiously spinning washing machine full of bricks hammering directly into your most sensitive pain receptors. Add in the fact that it liked to bite back in the corners, and what you've got here is actually the recipe for 4.7 litres of total misery. It was a very bad car, and it was ugly. Still, at least it made them try harder with the Enzo.
This is the 2009 Peugeot Sport number 9 Total 908. At the 2009 Le Mans race, 3 908s flew across the finish line after 24 nerve-wracking hours. This moment marked an historic 1-2 victory for the Peugeot team. Thanks to over 500 hours of wind tunnel testing, the 908 can produce twice its own weight in downforce at 200 miles per hour. This means the 908 is capable, theoretically, of driving upside down. The 908 is equipped with 18-inch forged magnesium rear wheels and carbon ceramic disc brakes. The key to endurance racing isn't just speed. It's keeping the car running cool and trouble-free at full throttle hour after hour. For this, each 908 features 2 intercoolers, 2 oil coolers, and 2 radiators. In 2005, Peugeot announced its intent to create a prototype race car to win the 24 Hours of Le Mans. With decades of diesel experience, the HDI engine was an obvious choice when designing the 908. The twin-turbo 5.5-litre V12 engine produces 700 horsepower. This helps the car reach 0 to 60 in 2.7 seconds and achieve a top speed of 210 miles per hour. The interior of the 908 is all business. Due to 2-person cockpit rules, the 908 has room for a passenger, although this space is usually filled with racing equipment rather than an actual seat. The steering wheel serves as control center in the 908. All functions are at the driver's fingertips, including a wheel-mounted LCD screen that displays RPM and other critical vehicle information.
If you like your racing cars to sound like the god of thunder treading on a drawing pin, you won't like the noise made by this, Peugeot's Le Mans winning 908, because it sounds rather like a vacuum cleaner. And the reason for this is because it runs on diesel. As dreary news goes, though, this isn't as bad as it could be, because the diesel engine in question is a 5.5-litre twin-turbo V12 with 730 horsepower and nearly 900 torques. That is a lot. And it means that even with a wing the size and length of a cocktail bar on the back, it can still reach over 250 miles an hour on the long Le Mans straights. The combination of speed and the fewer pit stops demanded by diesel economy mean Peugeot was a dead cert to win the 24-hour race in 2007. Except it didn't, because Audi fetched up with a diesel car that was even faster and even more reliable. The French plan didn't quite work in 2008 either, but by 2009, Peugeot got their act together to take a 1-2 Le Mans finish. Normal service was resumed in 2010.
This is the 2005 Ford GT. Behind the GT's doors lurk large, distinctively styled vents, responsible for cooling the engine and transmission. Just above these vents, another pair of inlets feed air to the supercharged V8 engine. With its advanced aerodynamic design, the GT is Ford's first production car to hit 200 miles per hour. A fitting achievement, considering it was the GT40 race cars that broke the same speed record at Le Mans in 1966. The Ford GT is equipped with 19-inch cast aluminum alloy rear wheels and features cross-drilled and vented disc brakes. The 5.4-litre supercharged V8 engine produces 550 horsepower. This helps the car reach 0 to 60 in 3.8 seconds with a top speed of 205 miles per hour. The GT's cabin design harkens back to the hallowed GT40 race cars of the 60s. The dramatically perforated seats, analog instrumentation, and toggle switches are all distinct retro design elements.
Everyone knows American cars are terrible, and cars from Europe, especially cars from Italy, are better. Better looking, better driving, and usually better sounding. 50 years ago, Henry Ford knew this. That's why he tried to buy Ferrari and thought he had, until Enzo Ferrari looked down his Roman nose and said, you know what? Actually, you can't have it. So, Henry decided to kick Ferrari where it hurt, on the racetrack. He wrote a blank check and told his engineers to build a better racing car and beat Ferrari at Le Mans. And astonishingly, that car, a British chassis with an American engine, the Ford GT40, did just that. 4 times. This car is not the GT40, but it looks like one, and it was made to celebrate Ferrari's humiliation, only this time on the road, not the track. It's the Ford GT, not the GT40, because unlike that car, it's more than 40 inches tall, so Americans could fit into it. But the idea is just the same. A great big V8, a 5.4-litre with a supercharger, and a relatively simple aluminium chassis. 220 miles an hour, and frankly astonishing handling for a car from America. And movie star looks. I have never driven a car that attracts more attention, and I drove this one a lot, because I bought one as remarkably, at the time, there wasn't a Ferrari that was better. And that's only something that happens once every 50 years.
This is the 2011 Ferrari 599 GTO. The first production Ferrari hit public roads in 1947, decades after founder Enzo Ferrari first gained experience competing as a racing driver. Continued success on both road and track has made the brand an automotive icon. The famous design firm Pininfarina has been styling Ferraris since 1952. Based on the extreme 599XX track car, the fully modern 599 GTO still fits well into this classic Ferrari design heritage. The 599 GTO is equipped with 20-inch forged aluminum alloy wheels and carbon ceramic disc brakes. Extreme speeds often require high-tech solutions to keep a car right side up. The 599 GTO sports a meticulously designed rear diffuser that channels air for maximum downforce. The 599 GTO's wheel donuts are inspired by Formula One racing technology. Their unique design improves brake cooling and reduces drag by ensuring passing air hugs the car body. The 6-litre V12 engine produces 661 horsepower. This helps the car reach 0 to 60 in 3.35 seconds and achieve a top speed of 208 miles per hour. At 661 horsepower, the 599 GTO features Ferrari's most potent street car engine to date. This powerhouse is largely responsible for it being the fastest road-going Ferrari ever made. The rear-wheel drive Ferrari 599 GTO features a 6-speed paddle shift transmission. The 599 GTO sports a virtual race engineer that displays real-time performance data. It may be street legal, but this car is clearly built for the track.
This is only the third Ferrari in history to be called a GTO. The first, the 1962 250 GTO, remains the world's most valuable and quite possibly the world's most beautiful car. But its form came from its main function, as a racer. Likewise, GTO number 2, the 288 of the 1980s, was also made to go racing, only for the rules to change at the last minute, leaving it with nowhere to race. And now we have this, the third GTO. A slightly softened road-going version of the 599 FXX. It has 670 horsepower and a sense that it's constantly plotting new and exciting ways to physically harm you. But that's not the only reason why I don't much care for this car. The real reason I'm no fan is because the O in GTO means homologation. It means racing. And this 599 will never race, nor was it ever intended to. In essence, then, it's just a lightened, pumped-up version of the car a successful plastic surgeon would drive.
This is the 2010 Gumpert Apollo S. The Apollo S is the brainchild of motorsports veteran Roland Gumpert. During his tenure as head of Audi Sport, the team won 25 World Rally events and 4 World Rally Championships. The Gumpert Apollo S is equipped with 19-inch center-lock aluminum alloy wheels and slotted brakes. The only storage space in the Apollo is a 3.5 cubic foot compartment in the engine bay. However, its close proximity to the exhaust system puts its cargo at risk of heating up. The twin-turbocharged 4.2-litre V8 engine produces 691 horsepower. This helps the car reach 0 to 60 in under 4 seconds and achieve a top speed of around 200 miles per hour. The sports suspension package includes a pneumatic system to lift the car. Air jacks like this are traditionally only found in pure race cars, where they're needed for quick tire changes. The Apollo's unique shape, carbon underbody and rear diffuser all help maximize downforce and aerodynamics. Its numerous air inlets provide fresh air for the engine and cooling for the brakes. For safety, the front end utilizes an F1-inspired crash box. This aluminum section bolts directly onto the frame, absorbing impact energy into its cardboard-style corrugated design. The rear-wheel drive Gumpert Apollo S features a 6-speed sequential transmission. The cabin is built on a carbon safety cell, which weighs just 50 pounds and features molded seating buckets rather than traditional seats. Its racing steering wheel is detachable for quick entry and exit. The Apollo features various Audi parts, including air vents and interior switches. This enabled the Gumpert team to focus on maximizing performance, as well as prepare the Audi-based engine for turbo duty.
Naming a car company after yourself is fine if you're called Ferrari or Pagani or Lamborghini or even Morgan. It's not such a good idea if your last name is something stupid like Shufflebottom or Death. Unfortunately, this is advice that was ignored by a German man called Roland Gumpert. And here is the result: the Gumpert Apollo S. However, despite the stupid name, when this strange-looking car came to our test track, it lapped quicker than anything, including the original Veyron. But then that's not entirely surprising when you learn that it's basically a racing car with headlights and a twin-turbo Audi V8 that in basic tune makes 650 horsepower. That's enough for 0 to 60 in less than 3 seconds and a top speed of 223. Better yet, there's the option to tweak it up to 800 horsepower. And plans are afoot to launch a version with 1,000 horsepower. So that's the Gumpert Apollo. Silly name, serious car.
This is the 2006 Hummer H1 Alpha. This is no common grocery-getter SUV. With an armored underbody and the ability to push through nearly 3 feet of standing water, the H1 Alpha has extreme off-road capabilities. The H1 Alpha may weigh twice as much as the average pickup truck, but its double wishbone suspension and 16-inch ground clearance help it manage rough terrain with ease. The Hummer H1 Alpha is equipped with 17-inch alloy wheels and inboard mounted brakes. The 6.6-litre turbo diesel V8 engine produces 300 horsepower. This helps the car reach 0 to 60 in 13.5 seconds and achieve a towing capacity in excess of 9,000 pounds. For maximum control over different terrains, drivers can use the central tyre inflation system to adjust tyre pressure up or down on the fly, without even having to stop and get out. The H1 Alpha is based on the Humvee all-purpose military vehicle. The US Army has used the Humvee in battle for decades, often equipping it with some serious weaponry, even anti-aircraft missiles. Fuel mileage for the 4-ton H1 Alpha averages in at 11 miles per gallon. Luckily, it's also equipped with 2 large fuel tanks, good for holding over 50 gallons. The 4-wheel drive Hummer H1 Alpha features a 5-speed automatic transmission. From inside, it may be easy to forget the Hummer's military roots, but not its off-road prowess. The entire drivetrain is raised into the cabin, creating a unique layout of 4 separate seats.
There's a famous scene from the first Gulf War when a convoy of Humvees enters a minefield. One of them hits a mine, gets blown clean in the air, lands on all 4 wheels, and continues on. That is not possible in a Land Rover. It was at this moment that the Hummer legend was born. And someone quickly figured out that there were enough crazed gym enthusiasts in California to justify making the Humvee available to non-military types. Fitting the Humvee into civvies meant replacing the 6.5-litre Detroit diesel engine with a 6.6-litre GM Duramax. And since this engine made just 300 horsepower in a car that weighs more than most houses, it was often quicker to walk to the shops than use the Hummer. Still, if between you and the shops was a 22-inch obstacle to be cleared, or a puddle 30 inches deep, or a minefield, the Hummer H1 was the car for you. These turned out to be obstacles that most people don't face, and as a result, the H1 Alpha was discontinued after just over a year.
This is the 2010 Lexus LFA. Lexus turned to Yamaha's musical instrument division for acoustic tuning. The resulting F1-inspired sound of the V10 is as finely crafted as the engine itself. Hundreds of hours of research have helped make the LFA remarkably aerodynamic. A flat underbody and active rear wing help reduce drag and increase downforce, keeping the car glued to the road. In pursuit of optimal weight distribution, and despite higher engineering costs, Lexus placed the radiators at the rear of the car. This unique design allows for better handling without sacrificing cooling. The Lexus LFA is equipped with 20-inch forged aluminum wheels and carbon ceramic disc brakes. The 4.8-litre naturally aspirated V10 engine produces 552 horsepower. This helps the car reach 0 to 60 in 3.7 seconds and achieve a top speed of 202 miles per hour. The rear-wheel drive Lexus LFA features a 6-speed paddle shift transmission. Lexus positioned the carbon fiber frame seats exceptionally close to the vehicle's center. This layout improves driving feel, allowing increased response and intuitive communication with the LFA's chassis.
This is a Lexus. I know, doesn't look like one, does it? It doesn't sound like a Lexus from the details either. I mean, it has a 4.8-litre, 552 brake horsepower V10. It also has a carbon fibre body. And it does 0 to 60 in 3.7 seconds and has a top speed of 200 miles an hour. This is what happens when you tell Lexus engineers to stop making quiet, dull saloons for people who play golf. Let off the leash, they go mad and make this, the LFA. A car that sounds like an F1 racer and goes like a Ferrari 458, as it should when you discover that it costs twice as much. But just to prove they haven't forgotten their insane attention to detail, the Lexus boffins have given it dashboard vents that gently waft from side to side to make sure the air is evenly distributed around the cabin. This is a Lexus in the same sense that I'm a 400-meter runner. In other words, it isn't a Lexus at all. What this is Toyota showing exactly what they're capable of. And it turns out that what they're capable of is quite a lot.
This is the 1931 Bentley 8-litre. Of the 108 litres ever made, each is completely unique, making the car highly sought after by collectors. This particular model is based on one in Jay Leno's collection. In the 1930s, it cost just $5 to fill this Bentley's 25-gallon fuel tank. But with the car costing more than the average house at the time, it was far from affordable. Cooling the colossal inline-six engine is no mean feat. Hidden behind the classic Bentley grille lays a radiator twice the size of one found in the average modern car. The Bentley 8-litre is equipped with 21-inch aluminum-covered wire wheels and drum brakes. While elegant, this rear hinge design isn't without its faults. A dangerous tendency for an improperly closed door to fly open while the car was moving led to the nickname suicide doors. The 8-litre inline-six engine generates 220 horsepower. This allows the car to cruise comfortably at 80 miles per hour and achieve top speeds of over 100 miles per hour. Centuries of experience from the renowned Mulliner coach builders went into building the 8-litre's body. In many ways, its design has more in common with a horse-drawn carriage than a modern car. The rear-wheel drive Bentley 8-litre features a 4-speed manual transmission. Simplicity isn't this car's strong suit. With a variety of throttle, ignition, and mixture controls to master, the 8-litre takes considerably more effort to drive than modern cars.
The 1930 Bentley 8-litre could have become one of the world's greatest cars, like the gargantuan Bugatti Royale. But it was launched in London in 1930 with a price of £1,850. Back then, that was a lot. Especially since at almost exactly the same time, the Great Depression arrived in Europe. As a result, only 100 8-litres were ever made, and the car's failure brought Bentley to its knees. Within a year, it was sold to Rolls-Royce. Of those 100, only 78 are left, and every one is unique. This was a time when companies like Bentley sold you the bottom half of the car, the chassis, engine and wheels, and then left you to find a coach builder for the body and the seats and the roof. So this car shares its huge 220 horsepower 6-cylinder engine and 21-inch wheels with all the other 8-litres, but the rest, that was always a one-off. On this one, for example, the roof opens down the middle, so when it rains, those on the left could opt to get wet, while those on the right could stay dry. Strangely, it was an idea that didn't catch on, just like the rest of the Bentley 8-litres.
This is the 2010 Morgan Aero Supersport.
This cross-eyed curiosity is a Morgan Aero Supersports. As with all Morgans, much of the structure is made from wood. And if that sounds laughably old-fashioned, well, it is. It's also still made in the Malvern Hills of England in a factory so caught in the past that when a propeller aircraft passes overhead, half the workforce jumps. Surprisingly, the engine in this car isn't made from mud and leaves. It's actually a BMW V8 that makes a rather modern 368 horsepower, allowing this half-timbered sports car to get from 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds. It'll even run on to 170 miles an hour before its Edwardian aerodynamics prevent it going any faster. I said sports car, but in truth, this is as much a sports car as Westminster Abbey is a top-class rock and roll venue. This isn't a car to compete with modern Jaguars or Mercs or anything beyond. It's a strange time warp for people who believe cars should come with built-in nostalgia and a special kind of hat. And if that hasn't put you off the Aero Supersports, you should know that there's also a version with a fixed roof, one of which is owned by Richard Hammond. The idiot.
The Morgan Aero SS is equipped with 19-inch aluminum alloy wheels and AP racing brakes. The 4.8-litre V8 engine produces 362 horsepower. This helps the car reach 0 to 60 in 4.2 seconds and achieve a top speed in excess of 170 miles per hour. The Aero SS makes select use of tried-and-true parts from other manufacturers, including Lancia-sourced taillights. More significantly, the lively V8 engine and ZF transmission come courtesy of the BMW 5 Series. Completely unique among modern vehicles, Morgan cars include largely handmade wooden frames. The ash hardwood laminate is lightweight and surprisingly strong. With one of the most customizable interiors on the market, the Aero SS is often a truly one-of-a-kind creation. In fact, the concept version's cabin even boasted a champagne holder option. The rear-wheel drive Morgan Aero SS features a 6-speed Tiptronic transmission. This is the 2010 Aston Martin 177. Aston Martin cars and James Bond films have gone hand in hand for decades. Starting with the famous DB5 in the 1964 film Goldfinger, these British sports cars are now practically synonymous with 007. Despite the 177's radical appearance, it stays true to a long-standing design heritage. The shape of the front grille has been a signature feature of Aston Martin sports cars for decades. Aerodynamic efficiency is critical in the 177. Above a certain speed, its front radiators automatically close and a rear spoiler rises, improving performance while maintaining stability. The Aston Martin 177 is equipped with 20-inch split 7-spoke aluminum alloy wheels and carbon ceramic brakes. The 7.3-litre V12 engine produces 750 horsepower. This helps the car reach 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds and achieve a top speed of over 220 miles per hour. The rear-wheel drive Aston Martin 177 features a 6-speed paddle shift transmission. Like a well-tailored suit, the interior of the 177 is fitted to its owner's unique needs. With only 77 examples being produced, each buyer has the option to attend a personal unveiling ceremony at the factory.
This is the Aston Martin 177. Compared to Vantage and Vanquish, it is a rubbish name, and frankly the car deserves better, because it is the most powerful and most expensive Aston Martin of all time. At the front is a 7.3-litre V12 making 700 horsepower, which would be remarkable on its own. But it's even more amazing when you discover that this car weighs less than Aston's own V8 Vantage. They ran the 177 prototype up to 220 miles an hour before the driver backed off. According to Aston, it could go even faster. Whether you'd want to is another matter. Firstly, because it costs £1.3 million, and it would be a shame to break it. And secondly, because, well, just look at it. The underneath of the 177 is made from huge, beautiful sheets of carbon fibre, copied from Aston Martin's Le Mans races. And on top is a hand-beaten aluminium skin made by the same 200-year-old men who've been making Aston Martins since 1913. If only it had a better name.
This is the 2008 Lamborghini Rebonton. The highly engineered Rebelton looks like a stealth fighter jet without the wings. Its sharply chiseled form produces very low aerodynamic drag, helping it slice through the air like a surgical blade. No Lamborghini flagship would be complete without the signature scissor-style Lambo doors. This dramatic design element was created by Marcello Gandini and has become a hallmark of Lamborghini's supercars. Asymmetrical lower side vents highlight the Rebelton's functional design mentality. Additional upper batwing intakes open and close automatically based on the needs of the monstrous engine within. Aside from the roof and door panels, the Rebelton is skinned entirely in carbon fiber composite. The final touch for the limited edition supercar is a custom matte grey-green paint job. The Lamborghini Rebelton is equipped with 18-inch black aluminum wheels with carbon fiber fins and carbon ceramic disc brakes. The 6.5-litre V12 engine produces 641 horsepower. This helps the car reach 0 to 60 in 3.4 seconds and achieve a top speed in excess of 211 miles per hour. The all-wheel drive Lamborghini Rebelton features a 6-speed paddle shift transmission. The Rebelton's all-business interior is alight with cockpit-inspired instrumentation, reinforcing its fighter jet influence. The fully digital display completely rethinks traditional dials and gauges.
If you think the Lamborghini Murcielago isn't rare or special enough, this is the car for you. It's called the Rebelton. And if you think it looks like an F-22 Raptor stealth fighter, you'd be right. That was the idea. Except on the Raptor, all the strange surfaces and matte black paint are meant to make it look more discreet. But this car is a Lamborghini, and Lamborghini doesn't know the meaning of discreet. Certainly there's nothing even remotely discreet about the monstrous 6.5-litre, 640 horsepower V12. Firing that up is like strapping a unicorn to the roof and driving around shouting, "Look at me!" through a loud hailer. Mind you, frankly, you've more chance of seeing a unicorn than seeing a Rebelton, because Lamborghini made just 20 of them. Although if you do see one, you'll almost certainly remember it.
This is the 2005 TVR Sagaris. Shifting color paint is one of the more unusual options available on the Sagaris. The distinctive finish accentuates one of two colors depending on the viewing angle. It may be a production car, but the Sagaris was built with the track in mind. An asymmetrical roof design gives the driver enough room to sit comfortably while wearing a helmet. The TVR Sagaris is equipped with 18-inch, 7-spoke aluminum alloy wheels and cross-drilled disc brakes. A transparent plexiglass spoiler does more than preserve an aggressive silhouette. It improves rear visibility for the driver while generating downforce to improve traction and handling. The 4-litre inline-6 engine produces 406 horsepower. This helps the car reach 0 to 60 in 3.7 seconds and achieve a top speed of over 185 miles per hour. The rear-wheel drive TVR Sagaris features a 5-speed manual transmission. In true TVR style, nothing in the cockpit is where you'd expect it to be. Door and window controls are found next to the radio, rather than in their traditional locations on the doors.
Eventually, all TVRs will break down, and now so has the company that made them. That's a shame. Nothing was a bad idea at TVR. They tried to reinvent the door handle. They made front wings that appear to have been attacked by a mad axeman. They got the company dog to help with the styling. Obviously, there was no guarantee that your TVR would start of a morning, and even less of a guarantee that once it was going, it wouldn't attempt to fling you into a field of sprouts. But the insanity was just part of what made TVRs so special. Given their inability to make anything work properly, it was yet another example of their madness that they made their own 4-litre straight-six engine. Still, in a car this light, it meant 0 to 60 in 3.7 seconds and a top speed of 185 miles an hour. TVRs were the snorting, grunting, swivel-eyed lunatics of the car world, and were somehow worse off without them.
This is the 2005 Mercedes-Benz SLR. McLaren Automotive has had years of F1 racing success working with Mercedes-Benz engines. While the SLR is a street car, many of its innovations are directly inspired by McLaren's formidable race cars. A smooth underbody, rear diffuser and adaptive spoiler keep the SLR stable and glued to the road at high speeds. When braking heavily, the spoiler doubles as an air brake, like the flaps on a landing jet. The side exit exhausts not only provide dramatic looks and ferocious sound, they save weight by reducing pipe length. This also allows for a smooth, aerodynamic underbody, essential for stability at speed. The Mercedes-Benz SLR is equipped with 19-inch turbine aluminum alloy wheels and carbon fiber reinforced ceramic disc brakes. The 5.4-litre supercharged V8 engine produces 617 horsepower. This helps the car reach 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds and achieve a top speed of 207 miles per hour. The rear-wheel drive Mercedes-Benz SLR features a 5-speed automatic transmission. With premium leather and an abundance of high-tech features, the cabin is fittingly luxurious. However, the AMG SpeedShift transmission hints at this supercar's performance potential.
This is the greatest Anglo-German cooperation since, ever. It's the Mercedes-Benz SLR McLaren. From Germany, the big badge on the front, and the 5.4-litre supercharged V8 that gives this car 626 horsepower and a top speed of 208 miles an hour. From England comes the grey and silver, biros in the top pocket, engineering know-how of the McLaren F1 team, who came up with the carbon fibre body and built the whole thing in their Surrey factory. As you might imagine, the marriage between these two companies from these two nations was not easy. Mercedes insisted the SLR had to be front-engined and look exactly like this. McLaren insisted this was not ideal for a supercar. Mercedes wanted a comfortable, well-equipped cruiser. McLaren wanted a hardcore, lightweight racer. The two sides couldn't even agree on what the SLR sounded like at full chat. Mercedes said it was like a Messerschmitt. The British reckoned it was more like a Spitfire. Yet, despite the disagreements, the end result was a very fine car. Monstrously fast and loud when you drove like you'd sat on a bee, yet relaxed and easy to live with when you didn't. The only real problem were the carbon brakes, which worked like a switch. But whatever, the SLR is dead now and the two firms behind it have gone their separate ways. Although strangely, Mercedes now make the SLS, a hardcore cruiser, and McLaren the MP4 12C, a civilized supercar, which is somehow slightly ironic.
This is the 2011 Mercedes-Benz SLS AMG. Opened in 1967, AMG was the first tuning shop to focus on Mercedes-Benz muscle. It has since evolved to become the marque's official performance division. The SLS AMG, its crowning achievement. The SLS AMG's fiery bloodline can be traced back to its legendary ancestor, the 1955 300 SL. This is unmistakable in the upward opening gullwing doors and wide front grille. The 6.3-litre naturally aspirated V8 engine produces 571 horsepower. This helps the car reach 0 to 60 in 3.6 seconds and achieves a top speed of 197 miles per hour. The SLS AMG is equipped with rear 20-inch 7-spoke light alloy wheels and composite ceramic disc brakes. Built into its sweeping deck lid, a hidden spoiler keeps the car planted at speed. The clever wing deploys at 75 miles per hour and uses the wind to adjust downforce in milliseconds. As the gullwing nickname suggests, these lightweight doors swing upward a full 70 degrees. Thanks to carefully controlled pyrotechnics, their hinges can be blown off if the car rolls onto its roof, aiding exit. The rear-wheel drive SLS AMG features a 7-speed paddle shift transmission. Inside the low-slung cabin, race-ready features hint at this supercar's true nature. A lap-timing stopwatch can be displayed front and center, helping drivers hone their skills.
This is not just the greatest car Mercedes makes. Right now, I think it's the greatest car in the world. It's more powerful than a Ferrari 458, it's a little bit louder than a Lamborghini, and it's way more fun than the 911 RS GT Turbo 3S, or whatever this week's Ultimate Beetle is called. This is the thinking men's supercar, the Mercedes SLS. The engine is AMG's own 6.2-litre V8 linked to a flappy paddle double-clutch gearbox that sits at the back for perfect weight distribution, so that it feels as though the entire car pivots around, well, around your bottom. It does a lot of pivoting, if truth be told, because while it can do huge distances in great comfort, what it is at heart is a shouty, snarly, tail-happy, gull-winged lunatic. And that is why I love it.
This is the 2010 Spiker C8 La Violette LM85. Having competed both in F1 and at Le Mans, Spiker punches well above its weight. The company's trademark bold orange paint is a celebration of Dutch racing pride. The C8's air intakes may look striking, but they're not just for show. Handcrafted from aluminum, they provide cooling to both the engine and the brakes. The 4.2-litre V8 engine generates 400 horsepower. This helps the car reach 0 to 60 in just 4.4 seconds and achieve a top speed of 187 miles per hour. It may be a road car, but Spiker's racing background clearly influenced the C8's design. F1-inspired horizontal suspension keep the wheels planted to the road at high speed. The Spiker C8 La Violette is equipped with 19-inch Diamag Aeroblade alloy wheels and AP racing brakes. The rear-wheel drive Spiker C8 La Violette features a 6-speed manual transmission. You don't have to look far to see clues of Spiker's aviation heritage. The C8's turned aluminum instrument panel wouldn't look out of place in the cockpit of a classic aircraft.
Spiker was a Dutch company that went out of business in 1925, apparently. Don't worry, I didn't know that either. I'd never heard of Spiker, nor its financial troubles, nor even that there was a motor industry in Holland. I'd always assumed they had other industries to be getting on with, like flowers or cheese. But then a Dutch millionaire got bored with having too much money and bought Spiker back with cars like this, the C8 La Violette LM85. It has a 4.2-litre V8 engine from Audi and a chassis that was developed with help from Lotus. But the really interesting thing about Spikers is the way they look, which is like nothing else, and their interiors, which are like something else, although in most cases that something else is an explosion in one of those shops that sells jewelry and expensive luggage. Spiker's millionaire owner says that's what people want, and presumably he's right. Because when most restarted car companies fail within 7 minutes, Spiker is now doing so well, it recently bought Saab.
This is the 1957 Ferrari 250 Testarossa. Just 22 250 Testarossas were made, making it the rarest and most sought-after Ferrari of all time. It once held the record for most expensive automobile ever sold, fetching more than $12 million at auction. Inspired by Formula One cars of the era, the unorthodox-looking pontoon fenders were crafted by lead designer Sergio Scaglietti after Enzo Ferrari demanded better bodywork to aid in cooling the problematic front brakes. The Ferrari 250 Testarossa is equipped with 16-inch wire wheels and finned alloy and magnesium competition drum brakes. The 3-litre V12 engine produces 300 horsepower. This helps the car reach 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds and achieve a top speed of 168 miles per hour. Rather than ingesting air through a single intake like a conventional car, velocity stacks feed each cylinder individually, providing more power and creating an engine sound that's music to the ears. To feed the thirsty V12 engine, a massive 37-gallon fuel tank was used. That's nearly 3.5 times larger than the gas tank on a typical Honda. When topped up, the big tank weighs a whopping 224 pounds. Forget the amenities. The 250 TR's interior was built for racing, with an easy-access battery mounted in the passenger footwell and a second needle on the tachometer to record the highest engine RPM reached. The rear-wheel drive Ferrari 250 Testarossa features a 4-speed manual transmission.
If you wanted to win at Le Mans at the end of the 1950s, you needed to be driving one of these. The Ferrari 250 Testarossa wasn't just beautiful, it was frighteningly effective. It dominated the 24-hour race in 1958 and again in 1960. And then, just for good measure, when the opposition thought it could breathe again, it won again in 1961. Its close cousin, the 250 GTO, might be the most valuable car the world has ever seen, but the Testarossa was the one that took the silverware. For all its beauty, the GTO had to make do with class wins, where the Testarossa beat everything. Its name comes from the red paint the engine builders daubed all over its cylinder head, because, well, that's the only colour paint they have at Ferrari. Testarossa means red head. And sure enough, its 3-litre V12 engine, made by old men in oily workshops with lathes and drills and unfortunate industrial injuries, had a volcanic nature. There is sweat and blood and a bad attitude in every Ferrari 250 Testarossa.
This is the 2009 Bugatti Veyron 16-4. No one ever said breaking records was cheap. Bugatti recommends changing the Veyron's specially formulated tires every 2,500 miles. 4 new tires carry a price tag of $38,216. Automatic spoilers, wings and diffusers keep the Veyron pinned to the ground at high speed. Slow down in a hurry, and the rear wing acts as an air brake, like the parachute on a top-fuel dragster. The Bugatti Veyron is equipped with 540mm forged alloy rear wheels and carbon ceramic disc brakes. Big power makes big heat. Cooling the Veyron takes 10 times the number of radiators found in a standard compact car. Fitting, since the turbocharged W16 engine makes nearly 10 times the horsepower too. At top speed, the 16-cylinder beating heart of the Veyron can suck its 26-gallon fuel tank dry in 12 minutes flat. That's enough time to cover 50 miles. Bugatti gives Veyron buyers a special key that unlocks the car's true potential. With a twist of the wrist, the Veyron optimizes its aerodynamics and ride height for the push to its top speed of 253 miles per hour.
Above 155 miles an hour, they stop trying to classify hurricanes. 155 miles an hour is a Category 5, the kind that killed 12,000 burly Texans in 1900. There is no Category 6, because if there was, there'd be nobody left to classify it once it had passed. The Bugatti Veyron will pass through the air at 252 miles an hour, so you have some idea of the forces of nature at work here, and the reasons why it needs to haul that vast aeroplane wing into the airstream to keep it stable. It's also why it needs 16 cylinders, 8 litres, 4 turbochargers, 10 radiators, and 1,000 horsepower. Everything about this car is Category 6. Except, that is, the skill level required to drive it. Your mother could. A flappy paddle gearbox developed by people who develop Formula 1 gearboxes, and a 4-wheel drive system developed with some considerable amount of head-scratching by rocket scientists means you just get in and drive. And you won't drive anything faster. Anything. Like Concorde and the Saturn V, the Veyron is the furthest its particular engineering avenue will be explored. The men who engineered it are probably working now on hydrogen propulsion. There is no longer a place in the world for a car that will, with a twist of the special extra key required to dial in that hurricane-beating top speed, consume a set of 10,000-pound tyres in just 300 miles. And that makes me sad.
This is the 2009 Pagani Zonda Cinque Roadster. Horacio Pagani left Argentina to become Lamborghini's cutting-edge materials expert. He now carries out his love for carbon composites and high-tech materials in his own cars. The Cinque may be flashy, but that radical body shape is pure function. It produces over 1,600 pounds of downforce at 186 miles per hour, the most of any road-going Pagani. Carbon fiber is used on the Cinque wherever possible, including the removable storage compartments and the custom-made Schedoni luggage within. The Cinque uses a double A-arm suspension design, with Öhlins developed titanium springs and shock absorbers. This use of strong, lightweight materials is a hallmark of Pagani vehicles. The Pagani Zonda Cinque is equipped with 20-inch magnesium and aluminum center-lock rear wheels and carbon ceramic disc brakes. The 7.3-litre V12 engine produces 678 horsepower. This helps the car reach 0 to 60 in 3.4 seconds and achieve a top speed of 217 miles per hour. The rear-wheel drive Pagani Zonda Cinque features a 6-speed paddle-shift transmission. While carbon fiber can now be seen in many cars, it is often just used for aesthetic reasons. The Cinque's exposed carbon fiber interior, however, is actually part of the car's structure.
The Pagani Zonda, a car which proves that in Italy you can wake up one morning, drink one too many espressos, tell the world you're going to make a car as fast and as good as a Ferrari, and then actually go ahead and do it. This particular version, one of a baffling array of Zondas over the years, is the Cinque, a road-going version of the feral, track-only Zonda R. It's always puzzled us at Top Gear how Pagani makes its cars so good. Yes, they put in the effort by inventing a new cocktail of carbon fiber and titanium called carbotanium. And they managed to persuade Merck's power-crazed AMG division to build them special V12 engines. But that's not enough on its own. What Pagani really understand is that a supercar should be loud and dramatic and fast enough to make your eyeballs turn to putty. They also make cars that are incredibly easy to drive. Many men in sheds try to make supercars, and they get it wrong. But Pagani, as we see here, consistently gets it right. Very, very right.
The 2554 M12 Force Application Vehicle, Warthog. The M12 Force Application Vehicle, better known as the Warthog, is a highly mobile and adaptable platform serving the UNSC. Famed for its toughness and sturdy design, stories about hogs surviving numerous tours of active combat duty abound. But none is more well known than the tale of the Daedalus. Near the beginning of the Covenant War, the UNSC frigate Daedalus went down in atmosphere over the planet Galgaliel, smashing into the irradiated world's high-gravity surface. The ship's molten wreckage was scattered for hundreds of miles, an unsurvivable event. And yet, 4 Warthogs had, in fact, survived the impact. Marines from the motor pool had buckled themselves into the Hog's seats as the frigate plummeted to the surface. Strapped to the ship's deck, incredibly, the vehicles remained intact. Due to the security restrictions of the Cole Protocol, the Marines would wait months for aid. To survive, they used the Hogs to desalinate water and search for food. And they even programmed their radios to broadcast the distress signal that eventually led to their rescue. The M12 uses a dependable, low-profile, 12-liter hydrogen-injected ICE power plant. In standard 1G environments, the Hog has a maximum range of 490 miles before it needs to refuel. It can achieve a top speed of 78 miles per hour, no matter the terrain. The M12 FAV is equipped with 20-inch magnesium alloy wheels and powerful 14-inch carbon ceramic disc brakes. All military Warthogs are coated with a programmable nanoprismatic paint to refract color at any chromacity depending on the vehicle's destination. A security bit was designed to prevent Marines from tinkering with the finish based on early and embarrassing experiences of the tech's deployment. The Warthog's independent swing arm suspension is tuned for relatively low speeds and, depending on the vehicle's loadout, for hard braking, high G-forces, and variable centers of gravity. As with most UNSC vehicles, the Warthog is equipped with a Graf-Hauptmann solar saline actuator. This enables Marines to crack hydrogen fuel from any water source, reducing the need to transport bulky and dangerous fuel supplies. The rear section of the Warthog can be configured to any number of purposes, including troop transport and weapons platforms. The versatile Hog sees daily use as everything from a mobile machine gun to an ambulance. The Hog's massive tires feature a reactive tread pattern that provides astonishing traction on nearly any surface. Burst-proof nanotube construction gives these tires similar buoyancy to their gas pocket counterparts with one key benefit: they're practically indestructible. The four-wheel drive, four-wheel steering M12 FAV features a manual shifted transmission and a steering-linked emergency brake. Interior features vary depending on how the vehicle is purposed by AMG's factories, but standard controls include manual shifters and a steering-linked e-brake. A driver skilled in the use of this cutting brake can turn the Hog on a dime.
This is the 2012 BMW M5. The M Division was created in 1972 to handle BMW's racing program. Many of its innovations have trickled down into the company's road-going vehicles, particularly in high-performance M models. As a classic identifying feature of every modern M car, four prominent exhaust tips adorn the M5's rear. These are fed by an exhaust system with electronic bypass valves that increase flow above 2,000 RPM. The M5 features the same high-tech adaptive headlights available in the standard 5 series. The advanced lights constantly monitor the vehicle and ensure that light is always pointed where the car is headed. The unique front bumper, rear diffuser and spoiler help keep the car stable at high speed. Coming from a country with famously fast autobahn motorways, the 190-mile-per-hour sedan needs advanced aerodynamics. The BMW M5 is equipped with 19-inch alloy wheels and floating cross-drilled disc brakes. The 4.4-litre twin-turbocharged V8 engine produces 548 horsepower. This helps the car reach 0 to 60 in 4.1 seconds and achieve a top speed of 190 miles per hour. The rear-wheel drive BMW M5 features a 7-speed paddle shift transmission. The rear cabin is a high-tech environment. With 2 large headrest monitors, passengers can watch DVDs or TV, play games, surf the web, or even tap into the all-in-one iDrive vehicle interface. The M-Drive Manager stores the vehicle dynamics preference of 2 users, allowing drivers to easily call up preferred settings for engine, transmission, suspension, steering, and stability control.
A normal BMW 5 Series can be as interesting as travelling to Switzerland to buy some socks. But this isn't a normal 5 Series. This is the brand new BMW M5. Like previous versions of the M5, you wouldn't know it's anything out of the ordinary, unless you're an industrial-strength Class 1 ocean-going car bore. There are slightly swollen arches, fractionally bigger air intakes, and a set of subtle vents in the wings. But overall, it looks like the 520 that your dentist drives. And that's always been the genius of M5s, right back to the original of 1985. They may look quiet and unassuming, but they go like a stabbed badger. And this new one should be no exception. Gone is the rather drony V10 from the old M5, and in its place is a 4.4-litre twin-turbocharged V8, making over 550 horsepower. The pointlessly complicated and stupidly annoying gearbox of the old car has gone too, to be replaced by a 7-speed double-clutch flappy paddle system that should make changes as silky as Pierce Brosnan's underpants. So, it's as discreet as a Victorian butler, yet it's powerful enough to pop a kidney. It is, in short, another classic BMW M5.
This is the 2013 Viper GTS. The Viper project began in the late 1980s, when a Chrysler employee was inspired to create a new version of the Shelby Cobra. Along with a raw sports car experience, Vipers maintain the venomous snake theme of the original. A group of enthusiastic engineers assembled to become Team Viper. This team later created high-performance versions of other Chrysler vehicles and eventually became known as the Street and Racing Technology Development Team. Another group involved in the development of the first Viper was Lamborghini. Owned by Chrysler at the time, their expertise was used to critique the engine design and build prototype V10s. When the concept car was unveiled in 1989, it created enough public interest to propel the Dodge Viper to a wildly successful 1992 debut. Vipers have been hand-built at the Connor Avenue Assembly Plant in Detroit since 1996. They receive multi-position suspension alignment and dynamic testing, appropriate for a high-performance vehicle. The 2013 Viper utilizes magnesium in the dash structure and carbon fiber in its hood, roof and liftgate. Combining these lightweight materials with the tremendously potent V10 engine gives it an excellent power-to-weight ratio. Vipers have always been intimidating exotics to drive on the street or racetrack, with more than a few coiled up in wrecks. For the first time in history, this new generation Viper has electronic driving aids, making its performance more accessible than ever. Vipers have been racing since 1996. Highlights include dominating the GT2 class of the FIA GT Championship in the late 90s, and 3 straight class victories at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. The Viper GTS is equipped with 19-inch 5-spoke forged aluminum rear wheels and slotted disc brakes. The body panel's dramatic shapes are also functional. Computational fluid dynamics and extensive wind tunnel development ensure stability, while intakes behind the side windows cool the rear brakes. The 8.4-litre V10 engine helps the car reach 0 to 60 in 3.6 seconds and achieve a top speed of 206 miles per hour. Dual side pipes help create a characteristic exhaust note. They have appeared on most versions of the Viper, tracing back to the concept car and the Cobra that inspired it. The suspension can be adjusted easily from the driver's seat by pressing a button. This range of stiffness allows daily usability and on-track performance. With features such as connected media center, a customizable gauge cluster, and a double bubble roof for helmet room, the interior blends comfort with performance. The rear-wheel drive Viper GTS features a 6-speed manual transmission. This is the 2013 Hyundai Veloster Turbo. Hyundai is the world's fastest growing automaker, and this is their newest achievement, the Hyundai Veloster Turbo. Drawing on their experience in the world of racing, the Veloster Turbo features some of the same upgrades over the standard model as Rhys Millen's Veloster rally cars. His Velosters are kitted out with turbocharged 500 horsepower engines, lightweight carbon Kevlar bodies, and custom suspensions to handle the bumps and bruises of the most punishing rally cross course. Racing is in the Millen family's DNA. Both Rhys and his father Rod have entered the famed Pikes Peak International Hill Climb. Rod set the overall fastest time there in 1994, holding that record for 13 years. In 2009, Rhys posted the best ever run in time attack two-wheel drive class with his Genesis Coupe. Rod drove the same Genesis to an even quicker time 2 years later. 2011 was also the second time that Rhys and his team entered the Unlimited class. Their purpose-built PM580 is propelled by a turbocharged Hyundai V6, making over 700 horsepower. The Veloster features a unique three-door design. The additional door is on the passenger side, allowing uncompromised rear seat access even in close-quarters parking spaces. With a twin-scroll turbocharger, the 1.6-litre inline-4 produces a wide power band. Technology, such as direct fuel injection, enables it to travel up to 38 miles per gallon. The Hyundai Veloster Turbo is equipped with 18-inch alloy wheels and four-wheel disc brakes. The front-wheel drive Hyundai Veloster Turbo features a 6-speed manual transmission. The BlueLink Hyundai telematics system contains an abundance of navigation and communication features and can even be controlled with voice recognition. The large LCD touchscreen can be used with an integrated rear-view camera to display photos and video from smartphones, or even play games on your Xbox 360.